For this lesson, you need to open the sample file Mortgage Repayments 1 from your sample files folder. In this lesson, we'll use a complex function with 5 parameters that will calculate the repayments on a mortgage loan. This worksheet contains details of mortgages for loans from $50,000 to $300,000 with a 25-year term and an interest rate of 6.7%. We're going to use the PMT function to calculate the monthly repayments. So I'll begin by clicking in cell D4, which will be the result of the first calculation, and then I click the Insert Function button just to the left of the formula bar, and the Insert Function dialog appears. Now let's imagine that I don't know which function I need, but I know that it's to do with a loan. So I'll type loan into the search box and click the Go button. And several functions that are all to do with loan calculations are displayed in a list beneath. And the very first one, PMT, is the function that I need. I can confirm that by reading the help. Calculates the payment for a loan based on constant payments and a constant interest rate. Notice also that the arguments for the PMT function are shown above. That's rate, NPER, PV, FV, and type. While the help lets you know what the function does, it's unclear at this stage what these arguments mean. But notice that there's also a hyperlink pointing to the standard help page for this function. I'm going to click the hyperlink now, and Excel's help page for the PMT function is displayed. Now you can read this help page, and that will tell you what those parameters are used for, but it's usually easier to use the interactive help. Let's see what I mean by that. I'll click the OK button, and the Function Arguments dialog appears. I click in the Rate box, and you can see that there's some help at the bottom of the dialog. Rate is the interest rate per period for the loan. For example, use 6% divided by 4 for quarterly payments at 6% APR. Well, I don't want to calculate the quarterly payment because I'm paying every month. So clearly, I need to divide the interest rate by 12. So I'll click on the interest rate, that's cell C4, and then I'll divide the interest rate by 12. Now let's look at the second argument, NPER. NPER is the total number of payments for the loan. Well, I know how many years the loan's for, that's 25 years, and I know I'm paying every month, so clearly I need to multiply the number of years by 12 in order to find the total number of monthly repayments. So I click on cell B4, which has the years in it, and multiply by 12. And you can see that there will be 300 monthly repayments before this loan is paid. Now let's click in the third box, PV, and the help says PV is the present value. That's the total amount that a series of future payments is worth now. Now, when I give this course to finance companies, everybody nods at this point, and this makes perfect sense to them. But I think that for everybody else, perhaps you wouldn't realize that what Microsoft are trying to say is this is the amount that you actually borrowed. In other words, in this case, the value in cell A4, 50,000. The arguments that are shown in boldface are required. That's the rate, NPER, and PV that we've just entered. The last two arguments are optional. That's FV and type. We won't be using the FV and type arguments, but at the end of this lesson, I'll explain their purpose and what you would use them for. So all I need to do now is to click the OK button, and I can see that my monthly repayments are $343.88 for a 50,000 loan over 25 years at a 6.7% APR. And notice two things about this value. First of all, it's shown as negative because it represents money going out of our account. In other words, a negative cash flow. While this is technically correct, you might prefer, for presentational purposes, to change this to a positive number. And the easiest way to do that is to put a minus operator just in front of the P of PMT on the formula bar, because two negatives make a positive. And when I press the Enter key, you'll see that the figure is now positive. And the other thing to notice is that the PMT function automatically formats the repayment with a currency prefix, matching the currency locale on your computer. Because my computer has a currency locale of pounds sterling, the value is prefixed by a GBP symbol. But on your computer, you'll see a currency prefix that's appropriate to where you live. Well, I'll make this currency neutral now by clicking on cell D4 and applying the comma style. To do that, I click the Home tab on the ribbon and in the number group, the comma style. And this removes the currency prefix. Now I'm going to autofill to the end of the range. I'll do that by hovering the mouse cursor over the autofill handle and then double click. And I can now see the repayments for each of my loans. Let's now talk about those other arguments that I promised I'd cover, the FV and the type arguments. Let's bring back the function arguments dialog, and I'll do that by clicking the Insert Function button at the left of the formula bar. And I'll click in the FV box so that I can see the help. FV is the future value. It's an amount that will still be owed or a cash bonus that will be paid to the borrower at the end of the loan. This is sometimes also called a balloon payment. If a positive amount is entered into the FV box, then this amount will be paid to the borrower at the end of the loan. And if a negative amount is entered, it will represent an amount that will still be owed at the end of the loan. This type of loan is common in vehicle loan agreements and can also be used to model interest-only mortgages. Here's an example. A car is sold for $10,000 across 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, the borrower is either able to buy the car for $3,000 or to hand it back to the dealer. To model this loan, the PV would be 10,000 and the FV would be minus 3,000. Now let's move on to the type argument. So I'll click in the type box so that I can see the help. Most loans require the repayment to be made at the end of the period. In this example, at the end of each month. But some insurance-backed loans require the repayment to be made at the beginning of the period. Payments for this type of loan can be calculated by setting the type argument to 1. Well, now I've covered the FV and type arguments, I'll click Cancel to close the dialog, and all that remains is to save your work. And I'm going to save with the new name, Mortgage Repayments 2. And as usual, I'll save to the folder above my sample files folder. I click the Save button, and you've now completed Lesson 3.3. Use the formula palette and the PMT function.